Hey everyone! I'm so excited to share with you my new desktop PC from Dell, the Alienware series, and I'm going to walk you through the specs that I chose, why I chose those specific specs, what I upgraded and what I didn't upgrade, how I got a discount on the machine, how long it took to get shipped, and I'm also going to go through the unboxing experience of the machine and share with you my initial thoughts of it in terms of the design and so on. I'm also going to plug in the computer and show you how it looks once it's powered and share with you my thoughts. So if you're interested, let's get started. My current desktop computer was a custom build, and I built that computer and chose all of the parts. So I really customized it to my needs. But in this case, when I was looking for a new PC, I was really debating about getting a custom computer or getting a pre-built. And I'm going to share with you in the end how I made that decision in a separate video, but it was a hard choice and it kind of ultimately led to me not having the time to really dedicate to build a custom computer. Because my desktop PC is outdated and it can't support any of the programs, I've been using my laptop to do a lot of the heavy lifting. But what I find with laptops is that they're not as powerful as having a desktop. So what I like to typically do is, in order to ensure that I don't really use up my computer until it dies, because I've been finding I've been getting purple screens on my laptop already. I know, and it's only been a year since I've had this laptop, or slightly over a year, but I really don't want to overwork it to the point that I don't have a laptop, because I do want to have both a laptop and a desktop. And so what I usually do is I like to have my desktop to do a lot of the heavy lifting. And then if I'm working at a cafe, or I want to work from my bed, or I want to work outside, then I will use my laptop. But ideally, I don't like to push my laptop so much where it's my primary source that I'm working off of, at least for all of these heavy programs for rendering and so on. And for work, I don't really need a powerful computer because I'm doing remote access. So I'm actually using the computer power from my office and then running it here. But what I found is that a lot of times when I'm doing graphic work, it is easier to just work off of your computer. So I will use it for work as well. So for me, when I was choosing my computer, I knew a few things. I knew that I wanted something for 5+ years if possible. So I really looked at the specs really closely so that I had a computer that would last a bit of a longer run. And so I knew that a graphic card was really important. Storage space, because now I'm doing videos and they take up a lot of space. And also what I've been finding is that my current computer had a terabyte. At that time, 10 years ago, that was a lot of storage. And I was so happy that I did get a terabyte, because I would have been struggling a lot more and the computer wouldn't have lasted as long. The one thing I do regret from my older 10-year-old computer was I didn't spend a bit more on my graphics card, but that was also because I was a student at that time, and the money I put together for that computer was actually from scholarships, and I won a few awards during my time at UBC for my academic performance and my studio work and so on. And so I put together that money into a computer because I was also using a laptop at that time, and I like using both the laptop in conjunction with a desktop PC for my workflow, and I find that my devices will both live longer. So that's my ideal situation, is to have both. And I know it's quite expensive to have both, but I typically start with a laptop and then I save up and then I get a desktop. So that's usually how I purchase my computers. And so this computer cost me quite a bit. It's, with taxes, it's close to $6,000. It was $5,000 something, and I got some discounts as well. And I'm gonna talk to you about how you can get a discount as well. And what I'm gonna do is actually unbox this first to give you guys a close look into the computer itself, and I'm going to walk you through the specs and so on. But I just wanted to share my thought process going into getting the computer and why I needed to get a computer in the first place. And so if you're looking into getting a computer, I would ask yourself the same question. What are some of your user habits? Do you prefer to get a computer every 2 years? There's different schools of thoughts about this. You could, instead of looking at it as a 10-year investment, I personally see it that way because I'm lazy, and moving all of my files over for doing this whole setup, all of that, learning the computer and all of that, all of those things. For me, it's such a time investment. So I prefer to have something that I have for 10 years and I don't have to worry about it, and I don't have to then do the whole, it's like getting a new phone as well. So that's how I see it. And even with phones, I like to have it for a few years. I'm not updating and upgrading my phone every 2 or every year like some people, which I think it's fine if you do like to go that route, because instead of spending upfront $5,000, $6,000 for a computer that will last you 5 or 10 years, then you could take the route of spending $2,000, $3,000 for a medium performance computer, and then after a few years upgrade it, because technology is always improving and you're always getting better performing graphics cards and processors and so on. So the technology is evolving so much over the years that you might just feel like it's not really worth it spending so much on a computer upfront, and you rather just get a new one after 3-4 years, or after 2 years or whatever it might be, which is also fine. You can go that route. I knew for myself I don't want to do that. I just rather get a computer that's a bit future-proofed, and so that I can have it for 10 years, and then after 10 years I'll worry about getting a new computer as well. It's a bit, I'm lazy, so I know that about myself, so I kind of think of that up front when I'm looking into a computer. So let's unbox the computer. The thing is about receiving things in the mail, I was worried about like if it's gonna come damaged or anything, but I have to say the box overall came in good shape. And I have to say the nice thing about this too was that they actually delivered it to my door, because that was the other thing that I was worried about, is that it would be just left outside of my door or something. No, they delivered it by hand. They made sure I got it in person, which I was very appreciative of. Okay guys, let's just get into it and open it. I'm just like kind of nervous too, I don't know why. Yeah. Oh wow, you guys, this is so pretty. Oh my gosh, this is so pretty. It's a little dusty, but it's really pretty. Alienware logo there, and you can see the computer here, and it looks beautiful. So I also did a lot of research, and I have to say I did read some negative reviews about it, so it's going to be interesting for me to experience it myself. There was also good reviews as well. I'm not sure how I'm going to open this without, does this come off? Okay, well, they always make this so difficult. And okay, so there's some stuff here too. Okay, so let me just pull this up front here. I'm figuring this out as I go because I just wanted to share this. So it comes with this box here. Not sure what is in here. So let's see. Okay, it's just some cables. So we got some cables in this box, and it's a big box for a lot of nothing, to be honest. Okay, let me just go on this side. So just opening this box, we have just a power cable, it looks like. And we just have the Alienware pamphlet here. In 1996, we set out to build the most innovative and high-performance computers, yada yada. We will see how we like it. So I got the Aurora R13 Alienware. So it's one of the top performing computers. So let's now try to get this out of the box. So just move it around. So I'm not sure what's, okay, this opens out this way. Okay. I actually really do like the design in person. Online, I didn't really like the computer all that much. I'm just gonna hug it and put it onto this table and then get rid of this box. Okay, and then I'll just put this here so that you guys can see it too. Okay, this is quite heavy. Okay, let's get this box out of the way. I have to say that it looks a lot better in person than it did online. Like, it's quite, I have to say, beautiful. I'm gonna remove the plastic on it as well, but it looks a lot better in person versus through all of the photos I saw. I feel like it's heavier than my current computer as well, but I have to say that at first I didn't really like the design a whole lot, but I'm warming up to it. I really am. Like, now I kind of do like it. It is kind of futuristic, and the lines are actually quite clean, and I got it in white because my desk is white, so it'll kind of blend in with, but you know, I like the design more than what I used to really think of it. And so this is the side here. Oh, you can see my mess of my desk reflected. There you have it. The one thing I did like about ordering the Dell Alienware is I was able to customize certain things in comparison to other computers out there that you can't can't even really customize much. And so I knew I wanted the R13, and then I customized the storage and I really upgraded the storage. I upgraded the cooling as well because I knew that that was something that was important to me, because I also read a lot of reviews talking about issues with cooling when they're gaming and so on. So I upgraded the cooling, and I don't like the RAM. I'm planning in the future to upgrade my RAM, because the RAM in this computer, first of all, it's not really pretty, I hate to say it, and it's not good quality RAM. You can get a lot better RAM, and for a computer at this price point, I would expect better RAM, but that's okay. I can always upgrade that without an issue. The graphics card looks awesome, by the way, you guys. You could see it here. Sorry for all the reflections. I'm going to do another view for you guys, but we have the graphics card in here. This time I really did look into spending a bit more on my graphics card, because that is one thing I did regret on my other machine, but it was also because I didn't have the money because I was a student. Now, if I were to custom build this, I would give more space between, you know, the cooling and the graphics card. I would give it more airflow. I probably would have designed this computer completely different, but I knew that I didn't have the time to fully do that. So that's the one thing I'll have to live with, is that I wasn't able to really design the computer myself. Like, I would do it completely different. I would have given it all the parts and the graphics card more airflow around it and better spacing and all of that stuff. I would definitely have better RAM as well. I would have done a few things differently. I got a pre-build for the convenience of everything already being done, and I was able to customize a few things. So, you know, you kind of have to weigh the pros and cons and what's most important for you. If you have the time, I would recommend to do a custom build. And if you're willing, especially if it's your first build, don't worry about it. You can learn. It's not anything super complicated, but I just found that it takes a bit of time, especially if you're looking for the best deals on some of the parts. You're gonna research them. At least that's what I like to do. And then look into the individual parts. And then some parts only work best with certain types of parts, so you got to make sure that they're compatible with each other. So you do need to have a bit of knowledge there. I'm going to go through the specs of the computer before we get into the setup, and I show you how it looks when it's set up. But basically, I upgraded a few and I customized it a few specs on the computer, because I felt like in order for me to kind of grow with the machine, I needed a few more specs. So that's a great thing, that you could customize a few things. So I customized the storage. I also looked for a better graphics card, and what was it? Oh, the cooling, because I read that there were some cooling issues. Now, I'm not going to be doing any game. Well, I might actually game with it. I might do some gaming, but my type of gaming is like playing Sims. So I'm not doing any hardcore gaming. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna need a lot of cooling. But the thing is, I do have sometimes overheating issues when I'm working on like a particular model and I'm rendering and so on. It's quite heavy. And even when I'm editing videos for you guys, I've been really pushing the limits recently with my graphics and adding all of these graphics and stuff. And that takes a lot of power. And so I've been finding that my laptop specifically has been like overheating and so on. When I heard that there were some cooling issues, and I heard some people talking about the cooling, I upgraded the cooling for this machine because I thought it was worth another, I think, was it 200 or 100 bucks to upgrade. Now, you could upgrade it yourself, but for me, again, I didn't want to worry about it. I really just want to plug this thing in, and even just plugging it in and installing my programs and so on, that's going to take time for me to shift from one computer to another, because I got to move all the files and all of that stuff, which I'm not looking forward to, but I'm not building the whole thing. That's kind of nice. So I ordered the Dell computer online, and what I did as well is I tried to find a bit of a discount. And what I did is I called the customer service and I actually spoke with them. By the way, this video is not sponsored. I should mention that from the beginning. I bought this with my own money, with my own savings, and I've been saving up for this. And I was at a point that I really needed to upgrade my current computer because I was having power issues. My power went out. One day I was working on it and the whole screen went black. And luckily it was a simple replace. I just needed to replace my power supply because it's so old. It's again over 10 years now. But prior to that happening to me, I've been experiencing issues with my graphics card because the graphics card no longer can support all of the architectural programs because it's so old. And so I haven't been able to run some of the programs, and I've been relying on my laptop for that heavily. And my laptop has been overworking so much that I've been getting a purple screen, which is not good. And so for the specs, what I did is I made sure that I had the latest Intel. So I have the Intel Core i9. And for me, that was important because I remember when I did my custom build as well for my PC, I also made sure I had the latest Intel and so on so that it can really last me for a couple of years, the programs. So I got the 12th generation as well, and it's 2900K 16 core. So, and it's 3.2 hertz to 5.2 hertz with turbo boost, max 3.0. So that's basically my Intel i9. And then for the graphics card, this is definitely very important. I did spend some time just researching graphics card. If I had another $1,000, which is still a lot of money, which I didn't want to spend more on the graphics card, I felt like this is already a very decent graphics card. I don't need to go and upgrade it to another ridiculous, honestly, graphics card. But if you can spend another $1,000, you can get a really nice graphic card. There's going to be a release of a new graphics card that's going to be coming out soon. I'll just put the details on the screen. But this graphics card I thought was pretty decent. I looked at some of the comparisons and performance of the graphics card, and for what I'm doing for the architecture programs and video editing, it's going to be more than fine. I do recommend if you are looking at different graphics card to make sure that the programs that you plan to be using are supported by the graphics card. So especially if you're looking into older graphics cards, which there's no problem, but just be careful because a lot of them are not supported and cannot support some of the architecture programs. In order to find out if they are supported or not, you can just log on to the program that you're looking into specifically. For example, if you're looking into Revit, if you go into the program requirements for Revit, you will actually get a list of supported graphics cards, recommended graphics cards for different levels of performance. So I highly recommend to double check for your graphics card. And so this graphics card here that I got is just the GeForce RTX 3090 24 gigabytes. So I'm really excited to use this graphics card. So I find that this is not your mid-level, maybe mid-higher level graphics card, but if you can spend a bit more, get the 3090 Ti. I believe it's another $1,000 or so. The prices right now for a lot of parts are actually quite affordable. They've dropped a bit. During the pandemic, they were really crazy prices. So the prices are much better. So you can get some good deals on some of the graphics cards if they're available. So I have to say that if I were to pre-build and customize my computer, this specific graphics card was actually a little tricky to find. In terms of RAM, this is the other really important item in order to keep in mind is your RAM, because sometimes, quite often this happens to me, especially when I was in the early stages of my career. When I was a student, I couldn't really afford a lot of RAM, and RAM at the time was really pricey. It's much more affordable now. So for me, I knew that I wanted 64 gigabytes of RAM. You can get away, my custom build when I was a student, the computer that I had was 16 gigabytes, and I would recommend to go like 32 gigabytes for something in the middle. But if you can get a little bit more extra, especially if you're working on complex projects, I would recommend 64 gigabytes. What I could do in the future is easily upgrade my RAM, something a little bit better quality with some RGB lights as well, because these don't have it. And so eventually I will upgrade my RAM, and if I feel that I need more, I was looking at, you could customize your RAM if you wanted to, and you could get 128 gigabytes. I feel like 128 gigabytes is a bit of an overkill. 64, I find that if I have 64, I never run into issues of running out of memory. But when I'm lower than 64 and I'm doing more complex projects, I will get the occasional message. So 64 I found to be a nice place, and I never needed more than that, but potentially you could look into 128. I do think it's an overkill, but you could do that. So in terms of the storage, I upgraded the storage because I felt for me to have this for a bit longer, I wanted to have a bit more storage. So I have 2 terabytes to boot all of my programs, so that's my SSD, and then another additional 2 terabytes. And if I could, honestly, I would have upgraded more, but I could only get a total of 4 terabytes of storage space. And so what I will be doing is potentially most likely upgrading my storage and adding more SSD cards or an external kind of hard drive. I don't like external hard drives, but I'm planning to use my hard drive from my other computer, placing it in a case and operating it that way. And I'll go through the thought process behind all of that because there was a lot of thinking that went into the storage space. But so in this particular machine, we have 2 terabytes of SSD to boot all of the programs. And that's important because I found that I think on my older computer, I have around 500 gigabytes, which is not bad. A lot of programs take up a lot of space. And as you want to grow with your computer, you want to make sure that you have enough room to run all those computers successfully. And you want to make sure you have some remainder storage space for those programs to run properly. So I felt like definitely I don't want to worry about not having enough program space to boot all the programs, but it is a bit of an overkill with 2 terabytes. You can get away with 1 terabyte or even less, but to feel more comfortable with it, I would definitely recommend a terabyte. And then for the cooling, I did upgrade the cooling to 1000 watts. I did not need 1000. I could get away with 700, but I thought that because there was some cooling reviews issues that I read about the computer that a lot of creators and other users were talking about, I felt like I might as well upgrade my cooling. And I do have liquid cooling, which I really recommend, and it's so much more affordable because I remember 10 years ago I wanted liquid cooling. I love how it looks too. So I was really looking forward to doing that, but then because it was so expensive at the time, I never got into the liquid cooling, but in this computer, I finally got that. I'm just reading through here. I have an accidental damage service for a year, and I have a 1 year of technical support guarantee warranty for the initial year that came with the machine. And then I also have Windows 11 on the machine, which I recommend getting the latest Windows, especially if you're getting a new machine. And just be mindful that some programs, they won't be able to run on some of the older Windows, so double check for that. But I believe 10 and 11, most architecture programs do support it. And I believe that's everything. I didn't show you guys the back of the machine, but here in the back of the machine, you have the power cable that goes in here, and you have HDMI inputs that you can attach your monitors and speed inputs as well for all of your other devices that you want to plug in and so on. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in so that we can see how it looks. And I hear it turn on. Is it? Sorry. Oh, it's working, guys. I can hear it. I can also smell the plastic. And you can see the fans rotating, and you got the GeForce RTX. So I'm gonna get into, you can really get into customizing the colors of how the machine looks like. So I'm gonna start to get into that, but I'm not gonna be sharing that in this video because this video I think is already quite lengthy. I'm gonna share that, and I can feel the fans and the cooling back here actually. I'm gonna share that in a separate video, and I will also do a 6-month review. Let me know down below what else you'd like to see about the computer. Would you like me to test some of the software on it and so on? So let me know what you would like to see, and I will try to make that happen. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video, and if you enjoyed this video, I think you're also going to enjoy this video here. And if you like to support the channel, make sure to subscribe, and you can do that here. I hope to see you on the next video. Until then, bye!